Hello, welcome back to This, That, and the Other. Today, this day in history, Neil Armstrong walks on the moon. At 10:56 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, American astronaut Neil Armstrong, 240,000 miles from Earth, speaks these words to no more than a billion people listening at home. Quote, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," unquote. Stepping off the lunar landing module, Armstrong became the first human to walk on the surface of the moon. The American effort to send astronauts to the moon has its origins in a famous appeal President John F. Kennedy made to a special joint session of Congress on May 25th, 1961. "I believe this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth." At the time, the United States was still trailing the Soviet Union in space development, and Cold War era America welcomed Kennedy's bold proposal. In 1966, after 5 years of work by an international team of scientists and engineers, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, conducted the first unmanned Apollo mission, testing the structural integrity of the proposed launch vehicle and spacecraft combination. Then on January 27th, 1967, tragedy struck at Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, when a fire broke out during a manned launch pad test of the Apollo spacecraft and Saturn rocket. 3 astronauts were killed in the fire. Despite the setback, NASA and its thousands of employees forged ahead, and in October of 1968, Apollo 7, the first manned Apollo mission, orbited Earth and successfully tested many of the sophisticated systems needed to conduct a moon journey and landing. In December of the same year, Apollo 8 took 3 astronauts to the far side of the moon and orbited it 10 times before returning. And in March 1969, Apollo 9 tested the lunar module for the first time while in Earth orbit. Then in May, the 3 astronauts of Apollo 10 took the first complete Apollo spacecraft in 31 orbits around the moon in a dry run for the scheduled July landing mission. At 9:32 a.m. on July the 16th, with the world watching, Apollo 11 took off from Kennedy Space Center with astronauts Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Michael Collins aboard. Armstrong, a 38-year-old research pilot, was the commander of the mission. After traveling 240,000 miles in 76 hours, Apollo 11 entered into lunar orbit on July 19th. The next day, at 1:46 p.m., the lunar module Eagle, manned by Armstrong and Aldrin, separated from the command module, where Collins remained. 2 hours later, the Eagle began its descent to the lunar surface, and at 4:18 p.m., the craft touched down on the southwestern edge of the Sea of Tranquility. Armstrong immediately radioed to Mission Control in Houston, Texas, a famous message, quote, "The Eagle has landed." At 10:39 p.m., 5 hours ahead of the original schedule, Armstrong opened the hatch of the lunar module. As he made his way down the lunar module's ladder, a television camera attached to the craft recorded his progress and beamed the signal back to Earth, where hundreds of millions watched in great anticipation. At 10:56 p.m., Armstrong spoke his famous quote, which he later contended was slightly garbled by his microphone and meant to be, That's and meant to be, quote, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. He then planted his left foot on the gray powdery surface, took a cautious step forward, and humanity had walked on the moon. Buzz Aldrin joined him on the moon's surface at 11:11 p.m., and together they took photographs of the terrain, planted a U.S. flag, ran a few simple scientific tests, and spoke with President Richard M. Nixon via Houston. By 1:11 a.m. on July 21st, both astronauts were back in the lunar module and the hatch was closed. The two men slept that night on the surface of the moon, and at 1:54 p.m., the Eagle began its ascent back to the command module. Among the items left on the surface of the moon was a plaque that read, quote, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind," unquote. At 5:35 p.m., Armstrong and Aldrin successfully docked and rejoined Collins, and at 12:56 a.m. on July 22nd, Apollo 11 began its journey home, safely splashing down in the Pacific Ocean at 12:51 p.m. on July the 24th. There would be 5 more successful lunar landing missions and 1 unplanned lunar swing-by. Apollo 13, the last men to walk on the moon, astronauts Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt of the Apollo 17 mission, left the lunar surface on December 14, 1972. The Apollo program was a costly and labor-intensive endeavor involving an estimated 400,000 engineers, technicians, and scientists, and costing $24 billion, close to $100 billion in today's dollars. The expense was justifying by Kennedy's 1961 mandate to beat the Soviets to the moon, and after the feat was accomplished, ongoing missions lost their viability. So also on this day in history, in 1865, Pierre Lallemand, inventor of the bicycle, arrives in the U.S. 2012, Aurora shooting leaves 12 dead, 70 wounded. 1963, Jan and Dean Surf City hits number 1. In 1881, Sitting Bull surrenders. In 1976, Viking 1 lands on Mars. In 1969, President Nixon watches first lunar landing. In 1889, homesteaders murdered by Wyoming ranchers. 1973, actor and martial arts expert Bruce Lee dies at age 32. 1977, the Great Flood hits Johnsontown. 1984, a serial killing couple is apprehended. In 1948, President Truman issues peacetime draft. And in 1944, assassination plot against Hitler fails. Well, this has been This Day in History. We hope you join us next time. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Remember, always forward, never back. Bye.